11th, 2023 school committee meeting, and we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Danvers Public Schools is a dynamic community of independent learners dedicated to respect, responsibility, creativity, and the pursuit of academic and personal excellence. This meeting is being broadcasted on Danvers Access Community Television, and is there anyone in the audience who is recording the proceedings? Okay, so we're just going to go a little bit, change the order just for the beginning of the meeting. So we're going to start first with item 4, information from the superintendent.
Awesome, thank you so much. So first up, we'd like to have Riverside Pride, Principal Fitzgerald and her group of students.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come tonight to talk about Riverside Pride. Pride stands for positive respect, include, do the right thing, and effective effort. Over the last few meetings, Principal Obremski and Principal O'Reilly did a great job talking about the district initiatives and some of the things that have been happening at their schools. And I thought tonight I would bring a team of some students to talk from their perspective about some of the things that we've been doing. So first up, I have Ella and Milana.
Hello, my name is Ella Bala. I'm a 5th grader and I'm here on behalf of the Student Council. Hello, my name is Milana Santo. I'm a 5th grader and I'm here on behalf of the Student Council. The Student Council's job is to bring together our Riverside community. We help model all parts of Riverside Pride. This year, we have a fun new addition to our Riverside rallies. After we focus on Pride presentations, we head back to class and celebrate with a frozen treat. We like it better because we get to take our time and enjoy it. The Student Council also plans fun events and theme days, but we also give back to our Danvers community. One example of this was our food pantry donations. Together as a school, we were able to donate over 800 items to the People Food Pantry. We created posters and information for the school, organized the goods, and packed the cars. Continuing on this path, during the month of December, we will be collecting gently used winter coats. These coats will be donated to the Coats for Kids and Families Coat Drive. Recently, we had a fun event. The 5th grade career fair arranged by DHS DECA. The professionals took their time out of their busy day to share with us about what they do for work. Each station shared a little about themselves and their work. One fascinating fact was that one of the officers stayed up all night and then came to our fair. We felt like our classmates liked the experience because they asked a lot of questions, talked a lot, and were very respectful to our visitors. Oh, and they inspired me to have my own company one day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ella Tegender. I'm a fourth grader who participated in the Baby Sharks program with DHS DECA. Our team went to the finals. Something I learned was all about profit margins and how to dress professionally. Something I enjoyed was being with my friends. The DHS mentors helped with the whole project. They helped with the profit, the design, and how to sell our invention.
Hi, my name is Liam Taint and I'm a fourth grader at Riverside. ST Math is a great way to learn and problem solve. There are no directions, so it can be hard, but it is a good challenge because you have to keep persevering to solve the puzzles. I noticed that there's a connection between ST Math and what we are learning in math class. We learned about multiplication and arrays in class. I just did a level on that in ST Math, and learning in it both ways cleared up confusion I had. Our student goal is to get 90% by June. Everyone at Riverside has been working really hard, so we think we can do it. Our work with ST Math is connected to the P, positive, and the E, effective effort and pride, because we have to use perseverance.
Thank you very much. And Riverside actually just had a visit from the ST Math team, Mind, and the 1-8 team, and they wanted to see what we were doing because, as we shared earlier this year, Riverside was one of the schools that showed tremendous student growth. So they wanted to know what were our teachers doing and what was happening. So they came during our ST Math block and they reflected to us after, and they said they really were impressed with the set time in our schedules, and that's across all the schools for ST Math, and how serious the tone was when they came through. They said the students were very focused. They were impressed that they were using resources, whiteboards, and things like that to solve their problems, and also the joy that the teachers were showing for when the students were persevering through and solving the problems. So that was a pretty cool experience for us. And finally, our PAC has been doing a tremendous amount to help support the cultural enrichment programs. We've had some really neat ones so far, organizing our Riverside Rocket Rewards and treats and things like that, and generally just adding to the culture as well. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Anyone, any comments?
Just great job across the board, so you should all be proud. Thank you.
Awesome. And I can add the ST Math, they really get after it when I visit the school, and they've done a great job. So I'm looking forward to meeting Gigi myself. Next up, I'd like our athletic director, Drew Betts, to introduce the state champion boys cross country team. We're extremely proud of them. First state championship, Division II, and just an outstanding group of young men, great support. Just been an outstanding year, so take it away, Athletic Director Betts.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for having us. This group's kind of been on a very cool victory tour over the past week, but I think just in starting to get to see these guys work starting in August is just this accomplishment is something that they will have definitely earned. Also, a huge congratulations to our coaches. So Coach Bartlett, who's also a teacher here at the middle school, I'm going to have him introduce the student athletes here representing them tonight. But I do want to just thank you all for letting them be here and to help sort of celebrate this really, really impressive accomplishment, because as Mr. Bauer said, this is the school's first state championship since 2017, which is awesome. So, Coach, if you want to introduce your team.
Thank you again for having us. I'm Jeff Bartlett, the head cross-country coach. We have representatives from our team here, and I believe they brought the hardware too, if you want to come up. We'll start on the end. We have Mike Race, Will Dumont, one of our captains. We have Ben Wilhelm.
You can come up.
Yeah, come up. JJ Rooney, Sean Moore, another captain, and then Will Conklin, who's our third captain as well.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome work.
I don't know if you have any questions or anything.
I want to know more about the victory lap.
Oh yeah, so this was coordinated from Mr. Bauer, Mr. Betts. We were at the what meeting was it on Monday? The Board of
Select board.
Selectmen meeting on
Yep.
Monday.
Right.
And
Select
they,
board.
Select board, thank you. And they gave us a proclamation from the town. And then we were at the State House on Thursday with
Cool.
Representative Cairns, who set us up on a whole tour. We sat inside the House of Representatives and, at all the desks and things like that. And she provided lunch for us as well. Each member on the team and all the coaches got another proclamation from the House of Representatives as well, and now we are here. There was a nice police escort provided from the Danvers Police Department on the way home from the state meet. Once we pulled back right off the highway, they were there, and so that was really cool as well. So, and it's been really nice to see the reception from the whole community as well. I know the boys have been carrying the hardware around the high school. We try to give everyone a day with it, like the Stanley Cup, something like that. That was an idea from Mr. Betts. So, yeah, last year they were second by 1 point, and I think we were the happiest team to be second because we weren't supposed to be that high. And so, to win it the next year was the icing on the cake. So it's been a great group to coach. I've had many of them in middle school too, so it's been nice to see their growth from like little sixth graders all the way up to some real gentlemen. So.
Great.
How long is the typical cross-country course? How long are you guys running? How many miles?
At the state level, championship meets are all 5K, 5 kilometers or 3.1 miles.
I get tired when I drive them. You guys are great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd love a picture.
Oh, we gotta get them back up. No,
We-
but you want one with you.
Athletic Director Betts, can we get them back up for a picture? Not social media time? Make sure the hardware's nice and high there.
Let's get that in the middle.
Do you want to get in the picture?
Yeah, no, Drew, do you wanna
Committee
get
should
in
get up there
it?
with
No,
you.
no, do you guys get in? Okay, no, then just take it with them. That's all.
Come on, Eric.
Here.
Oh, we're gonna get in with them. I love it.
Yes, let's do it.
We did nothing to accomplish this.
You already know. Goodness, party.
I'm just extra excited because Will Conklin is my neighbor. And when he runs, I hurt. So,
Well, thank you again, students. You're welcome to stay for the fun part, or you may leave whenever you'd like. So thank you very much.
And thank you to the parental support for both Riverside and for the cross-country. Thank you so much for all of your support.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to backtrack again. We're going to then go to the information from our student reps, or rep tonight.
Hi. So the high school had their performance of Little Women, which went amazing. And there was even a great article written by the Salem News. The football team had an amazing run, making it to the Final Four, and they also beat Gloucester in the Thanksgiving game, so they squished the fish. Danvers High School Band and Chorus took a trip to Hawaii to perform at the Pearl Harbor Memorial Parade. As you guys just heard, boys cross country did an amazing job this year and ended up winning the state championship. The swim team beat Beverly last week for the first time in 6 years. And the high school is currently hosting its second annual Stump Trivia Tournament in Community Block. And the school-wide finale will be on December 21st.
Awesome. Thank you. You have a lot of exciting things going on at the high school right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Any comments, questions? All right, thank you for the update. Thank you. Have a nice holiday.
Thanks, you too.
You too.
All right, so we'll go back now to the first Is there any information from the superintendent, school committee, or community members? Any public comments? Okay.
Wait.
We've lost all our audience. Okay. So let's go back to information from the superintendent. So we will, I think, Mary, you're going to do the vocal data
Yes.
presentation? Okay.
Great. So I'm here tonight to present what we call the vocal survey data that came in from the spring 2023 MCAS tests. So during the final tests at certain grade levels, at the end, after they submit their tests, they take a survey around school climate and school culture. So the vocal survey is administered at grade 4, 5, 8, and 10. And for the purposes of this presentation, we looked at the exit grades to present the data. And so we're presenting data from grade 5, 8, and 10. So those are our exit ones. So the vocal data measures, as I said, school climate. So you end up with an aggregate school climate percentage, which you will see in upcoming slides. But also within that, they also disaggregated out to 3 dimensions, which they call engagement, safety, and environment. And inside each one of those dimensions, there's indicators, and those indicators measure different parts of the school climate. So for engagement, they're looking at cultural competence, relationship building within the school, and how are the kids participating in the classroom. And another indicator is, dimension is environment. So they look there, like what is the instructional environment within the classroom. Mental health is there support for students with that are seeking out support from adults around mental health or social emotional well-being. And then what's the discipline environment in the schools. And then finally, they look at the safety dimension, and they're looking at their physical and emotional safety, as well as specific questions around bullying that are happening in the school. So if you look back to what we were talking about, especially in the 22-23 school year and then the beginning of this year, we really use this framework as to help us organize what we're doing around developing a sense of belonging. That has been our theme for 2 years, about really creating that sense of belonging within the schools. And we really looked at this framework that the Learn Launch group came and presented to us. So there's 3 categories in there, and you'll see the overlap that happens within the vocal survey and this framework. So building relationships, the different levels of it, the value and affirm identities, that sense of belonging, and then creating opportunities for engagement. So you can really see the crossovers. So the vocal survey really was a natural way for us to kind of assess some of the things that were happening inside our district improvement plan in the school year 2022-2023. And again, when we presented data to you, the achievement data, back in October, this data was not available, and it was not released until the mid-November. So a few things to talk about before we dive into looking at the vocal data is that that the item response data is specific to the cohort. So when you'll start to see some charts where I'm comparing the group that took it in 2023 to the group that took it in 2022. And a lot of the measures in the improvement plan we're going to see gains from 2022 to 2023. So they're different kids that took the survey, but if you start to see commonalities in the items, then you know there's a pattern there. So we just wanted you to be aware that you're looking at different kids. They're not the same students being surveyed. This all is about perception. All these surveys questions are about ask individual students their perception on school culture. So that's another thing you have to look at is like what one cohort is perceiving might be different from another cohort. We can look at these patterns to see if that pattern continues one cohort to the next, that is something that maybe has been good and is improved in the school, or something that needs to be looked at. And then finally, the index scores range from 1 to 99, and then they say most scores fall between 35 and 75, and all our scores either fall between that range or exceed that range. And so at the You'll see at like the elementary level, those scores are a little bit higher than you're going to see at the middle and high school. So let's dig into the aggregate data. So school climate is the ultimate aggregate data. So it's everything combined together. And you're going to see in this, this graph here, you can see that in grade 10, the state and Danvers district and Danvers High School, Danvers district and high school are the same, and the state are right around the same score. So that Danvers High is at the state average of 44%. But if you look at 2022, you're going to see that we improved. The perceptions improved from 2022 to 2023. The same thing for each of the dimensions that feed into that aggregate school climate score. So under engagement, we're right at the state average, safety, and environment. And then when you get down to looking at 2022, you're going to see that Danvers High had an overall improvement in each one of those dimension scores. So again, that's Danvers High. So now moving to Holton Richmond, and you're going to see here that we are, either at the state average or slightly below it. The state really says that, any kind of swing by 3 percentage points is what they call a small significance in the growth. But if you get up to about 8, you're having a larger significance. So that 3 to 8 band is kind of where you're looking at. So you can see here, though, that at Holton Richmond, that we held the same as kind of the perceptions of the 2022 cohort held in 2023. So not as much of a gain as we saw at Danvers High, but holding in perception. And then we get to the elementary level, and you're going to see that, again, Danvers and the state are right close together, if not Danvers a little higher in some of the dimension scores. But then you can see a breakdown by the school. And again, the school, like all those numbers are quite similar and close together in that range. And the one thing at grade 5 that we noticed is that the perceptions of the year before, the 2022, were a little bit stronger than the perceptions that were happening in grade 5 last year. So that's all what we call aggregate data. All the items, all those little questions that were asked in the survey, all kind of were averaged up into those dimension scores and the school climate. So now we're going to dig into the actual item data, because when we had the district improvement plan, we actually dug into, we said we want to see some improvement in these indicators, because these indicators would tell us how we were doing in the work that we deemed important in the district improvement plan. So the first one is safe schools. And these were we pulled out 2 items where they asked about bullying, and we really wanted to see how we were doing under teachers or the adults in the building supporting students. They work together to prevent or stop bullying, and then how about the students, the bystanders? Are they there to help try to stop bullying? So, and before we dive into looking at the charts, I color-coded the charts, and the color code really goes with, do we improve from 2022 to 2023, which is what we wrote in the improvement plan. You're going to see sometimes, you might see a red, which is like we didn't improve. When you see red, sometimes you're going to see that we exceeded the state, but we didn't improve over the year before. So if we jump into the first slide, and we're looking at the secondary level, both Danvers High and Holton Richmond Middle School, you're going to see at Danvers High School, we saw a gain in the perceptions of kids around something being done about bullying. So there was improvement from 2022 to 2023 around the teachers and the adults stopping bullying, and other students stopping bullying. That being said, the students stopping bullying is still a little bit below the state average, so there's work to do there. And then at Holton Richmond, we had a slight improvement over 22 on the adults working together to prevent bullying, but then we had a decline in the students trying to stop bullying when they see it happening. And although this is a case where it's red because we didn't improve over the 22 cohort, but we were above the state average. At the elementary level, the same was true here, is that we did not improve. The perceptions of the 2022 fifth graders were higher than the perceptions of the kids in 2023 taking the survey. And so it went down in teachers and adults supporting the prevention of bullying, and the students also supporting that, stopping that bullying. Again, both of them though, at the adults is at the state average, and then same with the students. So they're red, but yet still at the state average. And then I thought just for a little context to throw in the grade 4 one, and you'll see those scores are a little bit higher at grade 4 for their perceptions. So goal 2 is the coherent curriculum and instruction and assessment. And here we were looking at the measures around students wrestling with problems that don't have obvious answer. We thought that would help get at the rigor that we were pushing students in the classroom. Teachers support me even when my work is not my best, so that we see that we're continuing to gauge the student to stay connected to their schoolwork and continue to work. And if it's not your best, continue to try to work to get better. And then the last one is the students from different backgrounds in the classroom respect each other, regardless of their race, culture, family income, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. So when we get into this, Danvers High, they saw slight decreases in the rigor one, the problems that don't have an obvious answer, and then when teachers support me when I don't do my best. And both are slightly below the state average as well. And then, but when we got to students respecting one another, you see a gain, and a 6 percentage point gain there from 2022 to 23. And again, but at that point, still below the state average, and still work to do. At Holton Richmond Middle School, again, we had a slight gain at the academic class, just 1 percentage point. That's really just being at the same average as in perception as the 2022 students. And then a slight decrease when the students support me when my work is not my best. But then again, you see in the last one, the students from respecting one another, there's a gain there. So it was great. Again, still not at that state average, which we still have work to do. At the elementary level, these scores are much higher. And again, if you remember the typical scores between 35 and 75%, we're in the 90s and 80s here. We had some slight gains for when I'm stuck, my teachers push me to do my best, try again, and help me, and the kind of the respect for students that are different. And then the area that we need some improvement on that we didn't have gains in is the teachers support me even when my work is not my best. Again, though, they were pretty much at the state average for that. And then the last goal is around the sense of belonging, I call it. It's a diversity, equity, inclusion, but we really focused on the sense of belonging in this one. And so the first indicator is they feel like they belong in the community. They feel comfortable reaching out to teachers for emotional support. And again, the difference, they have respect from their classmates. So at Danvers High School, we saw gains in each one of those areas. And then at Holton Richmond, we saw gains in each one of the areas as well, and saw a significant gain, of that 8 percentage point, feeling comfortable reaching out to teachers for support. And then finally at elementary, we were holding right there at the perception of the 2022's cohort, and just a little bit above the state average on each one of those indicators. So what are the takeaways from all this? We really did see that we had growth in many of our weak indicators, and a lot of those indicators were chosen because they were weak compared to the state. If you look at the other indicators, you're going to see that Danvers is above the state average, and many of them. You can see that, just looking at the scores, if you're in the 90s at grade 5, and then you're, in the 60s by the time you hit middle school and high school. So as the kids get older, they really have a more nuanced understanding of what school culture is and their sense of belonging in that culture. So we really do, and as I said along the way here, we still have more work to do to ensure those safe and supportive schools that we really are striving for. And this isn't it. This is not the be-all and end-all. The vocal data isn't the only set of data that we use. We work to really triangulate our data, because this is one source, and we really look at trying to use data like the chronic absenteeism. That's another whole set of data to say, do they feel safe in the schools? Do they feel like they belong? We can dig into that. The Holton Richmond has a peer survey. I think Ellen presented that to you last year, and she'll be back, to present it again. And then we've been digging in with the assistant principals through the spring of last year into this year to analyze all our discipline data and really disaggregating it by student group, by race, by low income, by student with disability, and kind of taking a deeper look into that and doing a root cause analysis around why are some students in some groups disciplined more than others, and kind of looking at what are some of the solutions and steps we can put in place to do that. And that, I think, all that work, chronic absenteeism and discipline data is going to lead us to a better school culture. So that's my presentation. I'm sorry it wasn't the most exciting one.
Thank you. They take this right after the MCAS, right?
They take it right after the second MCAS test.
Right.
Or third if they were in high, yeah.
So that's something
In
to
eighth grade.
also consider after,
Yeah.
you're exhausted from taking a test,
Yes.
what the results would be.
Yeah.
One thing, I forget which elementary school they did, but maybe they all did last year. Like, the kids were asked to identify like two staff members that they felt really supported
Yeah.
by. I didn't know if like the middle school or high school had ever done that.
Actually, it was the middle school that did that.
Oh,
so.
was it the middle school?
Yeah.
Okay, last year or this year?
This year, just actually the last early release day.
Okay, how did that go?
And they did it last year, too.
Okay.
Last year
Yeah.
too, yeah. I
What,
think it went
like-
well.
Okay.
I haven't really followed up with Adam yet on that one, but
Okay.
it sounds like there was a lot of engagement on that
Good.
piece.
Because I'm wondering, like, if the staff were to take a similar survey, like if the results could be like similar,
Right.
just be that just always like, I wondered always like, what is the staff's perception versus like the
Yeah.
student's perception?
Right.
But I know that Vocal doesn't assess,
Does
doesn't
ask
ask the staff
teachers.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And to that point, if you wanna, do you wanna go?
Sure. Well, one thing for the entry plan, we are looking for a school climate and culture survey that can be administered to staff, the students, and families. That's on the horizon, and that's something we'd like to launch after we come back from December break. So we're still working out the fine details on that. We think we may have settled on the survey, so we're getting
Yeah.
there. But I think, to your point, in that would provide a good control. And as Mary said, you come out of the MCAS, I think we can mirror the questions. There's some customizing we can do, so I'll keep you informed.
thank you. And you said it's 35% to what was the you said
Oh,
the
to
typical
75% is
75%.
what the Department of Education says is the typical response. So.
Okay. All right.
And as you probably know, Dr. Doherty, that the webinar coming out about the vocal data is this week. So
Oh,
I'm
so
giving you
exciting.
this presentation before I have like what they are saying at the state level and what they saw.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions, comments?
Just a comment. I look in looking at the data, you can see that on 4th and 5th grade, like under the safe and supportive schools, like those numbers are really high, where they perceive that the students actually step in and stop the bullying. But as they get older and older, it starts to go down. You get peer pressure, you get all sorts of other things that probably play into factors.
Right.
But one of the things I'm interested in seeing is after Mr. Colantoni's had a significant amount of time under his belt, he's making all these positive
Yeah.
culture changes at the middle school. I'm looking forward to seeing the data next year. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And working with my curriculum directors and the principals, I think like that bystander, getting the bystanders to stand up has
Yeah.
been a big push in the work that we're trying to do. Is everyone taking responsibility
Right.
for it?
No, it's great.
So I know the students just took the pair survey at the middle school.
Yeah.
So when would the results be presented to us, do you think?
I'm believing like January, February they'll be ready, but
Okay.
right now they're just they're
Yeah.
back at the
Right.
at the group and they're analyzing that. So we haven't seen the results of it yet.
Can we go back to the safety slide for the elementary school, goal 1, the elementary
Yep.
school results? All right, so, okay, elementary 4 versus elementary 5, those were the current 4 and 5 at the time they took the survey. That's not a similar cohort.
No.
Okay. Because it's interesting from the student's perception that the 5th graders are reporting that the bullying situation, behavioral, it gives you the impression that this particular group of 5th graders, and to some extent even the 4th graders, have concerns or are noticing an increase in sort of bullying type behavior.
well, it's not an increase in the bullying behavior. They're just saying that they're not, it would say that they're not seeing their
I get
peers
it.
stepping up to help stop bullying.
Right, including both staff and other students.
Yeah.
So it, and it's consistent with sort of what we, at least what I've heard anecdotally about, kids having issues at a younger age. So that might be kind of just a warning flag to think about, what we need to do so that those students, number one, in the elementary schools, obviously, feel like we're doing all we can to prevent bullying. And when they get into middle school, they're already on the right track, so maybe it helps those numbers too.
Yeah.
So that turned out. The other thing that jumped out at me was that we're doing sort of a good job across the board on the inclusion issues. If you look at those
Yeah.
responses on the high school level and middle school level, there's a definite feeling that students are having friends who are different than they are, and that's a really good sign. That's what we've been hoping for. And it's a sign, I think, of cultural improvement there. So kudos to everybody on that. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Will we track this over time? So this cohort, like the 4th, will have their data this year for the 5th.
Yeah,
and
and
then
actually,
the 8th and the 10th. Like,
yeah.
will we start following it and tracking it?
We can. So if we go back to slide 14, sorry. So when Eric was asking, are they different cohorts? The 21, 22 fourth graders are the 22, 23 fifth graders, right? So we did see, so,
I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
so.
Okay.
Next year
Yeah,
we'll see.
so there was 82%, in 21, 22, saying the teachers help, and then 87% in 22, 23. I mean, different teachers, but but you do see a decline on the students trying in 4th grade. In 21, 22, you had 94% of the 4th graders saying that students tried to stop bullying when they saw it, down to 65 when they were in 5th grade. So
Yeah, that number is the one that kind of jumped out at me too.
yeah.
Yep.
So then they're currently 6th graders. We're going to have to wait till they're 8th graders to
Right.
get more data. But that's on the vocals. So we're going to look at the pair and see what
Yeah.
the pair is going to be telling us. So that's what's great, Alice. You're right. Is like in 6th grade is looking at the pair data and
Yeah.
see how they're doing.
Yeah, because we don't know the 6th, 7th, or 9th graders,
Right,
and they all
exactly.
take a test too.
Right.
Again, really, the more we're doing in the SEL time to do, understanding one another and building respect for one another, but then also working with the ADL curriculum, which does have a lot of that work on the bystanders, and really starting to beef that up.
Anyone else? All right, well, I think we're all looking forward to the peer survey. Whenever that is released.
Okay.
Thank you. So on to unfinished business.
Okay, so the superintendent recommends the approval of the updated elementary and Holton Richmond student handbooks for first and second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, so all those in favor of the approval of the updated elementary and HRMS student handbooks for second and first and second reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Okay, order of business. The secretary.
The superintendent, minutes. The secretary moves to approve and release the minutes from November 13th and 27th, 2023 regular meetings, and approve but not release the November 13th, 2023 executive session minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Communications. Or anything
Okay.
from NEC?
Yes, actually, I did make one slide inside your packet. I did share the annual report from the North Shore Education Consortium, so that's in there for your purview. It's comprehensive. One item that I do want to bring to the attention of the school committee, and we're working through this. So there is a capital improvement project that the consortium has had in the works since 2009. And for lack of a better term, kicked the can down the road over time, but they're finding a need that they need to replace the HVAC. There is a grouping of students that are medically fragile that require, updated HVAC, and that includes improving the roof and such, and it's a pretty big ask. So we have a meeting coming up on the 19th to bring that to a vote. The implications of that obviously with an $11 million project would require, by percentage, would be an increase to tuition. So I have scheduled a meeting with Steve and Rodney from the town side and with and Robin on Wednesday afternoon just to talk about the implications before we vote. I just want to make sure everybody's informed. I'm happy to share that with the committee. And we have quite a few students that are in the particular school, the Kevin O'Grady, which is it's more of the medically fragile students that require medical attention. We have a pretty good percentage of students at the consortium. So, they've gone through a lot of research in terms of how to navigate this, whether they own the property, but if they sell and lease, and just other components that just really bring them down the road where they're in a tough spot in terms of needing to move forward with this project, because as we know, any delays add on cost to that, and it's already pretty much, I don't want to misquote, but it's increased substantially from at least a year ago. So the bid is expiring at the end of the month, and again, we have a pretty good percentage of students that are there. The other piece that's important to note is that, with students that are placed there, if for whatever reason that the consortium wasn't able to operate, then we would be obligated to place students into other settings. And although you may find some at fairly comparable costs, but generally speaking it would be more, and the transportation more than likely would be increased. So it's a big decision, and we're just one vote of the many. And I'm happy to share the results of that meeting on Wednesday with the committee, so you have that information, so that we can make the best vote. Again, it's the will of the board there, but I want to make the best vote based upon the needs of our district. So just wanted to share that with you from that piece. That's all I have for the consortium.
Any questions?
Is the consortium an entity that can bond this work or borrow basically to pay for it?
Yes, so that's a big piece of that is again, from the bank, they just need approval to see the board backs this. It's around $9 million for that piece.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, they have an assessment of about $2 million to close that gap.
Yeah.
But so talking some big money, but there are other schools. There are a lot of other schools in there, and they have to percentage that out in terms of the final cost. So,
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So would it be like the percentage of each, I don't know if they figured this out, of each school, is it based on, would it be like based on how many students you have enrolled there?
Yes,
Okay.
right, and they have breakpoints, and again, I'll put a spreadsheet together for the committee in advance of our meeting, and then if you have questions, certainly can come back and follow up on that. But there are breakpoints in terms of numbers, and there are a few things they need to navigate. They're gonna have an informational session for the superintendents basically on the board of all the districts, so I think next week they'll have an informational, then the vote they wanna do on the 19th.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. So legislation, Mr. Crane?
The supplemental budget did pass last week, was signed by the governor, and hopefully after the holiday, I can come back and talk more specifically, if there's more specific information as to what financially this would mean for us. So more to come on that, but the good news is that the budget did pass.
Okay, thank you. Nothing new from curriculum and assessment and equity. Policy we updated last month. Safety we updated last month. Deep,
Nothing to update.
nothing. Danvers cares.
Met recently and putting out a survey just to find the best time to meet. The piece we want to look for alignment with our social workers and those in the middle and the high school to really leverage more work with Danvers Cares, and looking to bring in more presentations to the community. So I'll send the updated minutes. I don't know if I did send that. I may have dropped that in your box
I think you
too.
did.
I'll continue to do that just to help with that, but that was the main thrust of the last meeting, to extend more of influence to better help and serve the community.
CPAC?
Yep. Quick update. So CPAC's working to continue to kind of formalize an upcoming presentation that's going to be coming up in January of a calendar of events. And those are going to start in January. So there's several topics that they've already identified, such as one example is that there's going to be understanding the new IEP form, which is going to be set in place and coming up in the following September. But they're open to other topics that other people might have from the community. So if you are interested, if anybody in the community is interested in adding to this, they should reach out to Susie Soldani, and I have her email address. I'm just going to read it and kind of spell it, but it's Susan Soldani, SUSANSOLDANI @gmail.com. They can just reach out directly to her.
Thank you.
You got it.
And Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion.
Nothing new since I believe Josh reported on the last meeting. Not Josh, Gabe, I'm sorry. And the next meeting, I believe, is next Thursday. So
Okay.
I'll report at the next meeting we have.
All right. Wow. Okay, it's 7:20.
Happy holidays.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The next meeting is January 8th at 6:30 here at Holton Richmond. So thank you. Good night, Danvers.